What's going on? Today we're going to be talking about the account and characters, potentially for any Path of Exile game. Essentially, I just have kind of an idea that I want to go over here, inspired by the Path of Exile 2 weapon swap skill assignment, where when you are switching weapons based on a skill button press, you can have alternative skill trees based on different weapons, right? And so this made me have the idea that with an account, there are so many characters that you can have, right? And I feel like the ultimate goal of most people is to max out a character and be able to play that character in a specific way different than their other characters. So for example, like this character I've been running Delve with, you can have another character that does Scarabs, for example. And so you have all your skills and gear set up for that specific character. And so the idea is, what if you could have an account where your characters could be sacrificed with the gear that they have on and the skills that they have in their hotbar and their passive tree, into one account character. Alright, so basically, let's just take two characters. A witch that uses the necromancy ascendancy and a marauder that uses the Juggernaut ascendancy. So the idea is that you would go to some place in the game and whatever gear you have on at the time and whatever skill tree you have and whatever skills are on your hotbar, aka, you know, the skill gems in your sockets of the gear or the skill gems you have in your sockets based on your attributes, right? Basically, you would take one character to the altar or whatever it is in the game, and you would sacrifice that character. And then you would take the other character, same place, sacrifice it. Alright, and let's say you did the witch first, the marauder second. You sign into your account character because you can no longer sign into the witch or the marauder. And now you have this account character that has the look of the witch that you just had, the Necromancer Witch, right? And so, with this Necromancer Witch, you essentially have all of the skills, the skill tree, and the gear that you just had on that Witch Necromancer before you sacrificed them. But in addition, if you open up your skill menu, you can change the skill in the skill bar. Alright, so in the case of the Marauder, Juggernaut, and the Witch Necromancer, let's just say you have Raise Zombie and you have Bone Shatter. So you use the Raise Zombie skill and you appear to look just like the Witch Necromancer character that you sacrificed, right? And then you use Bone Shatter, and then there's like some UI element that changes the model of your character to be the Marauder Juggernaut with the gear that they had at the time of sacrifice. And you're able to use that Bone Shatter skill with the skill tree that you had at the time of sacrifice. Then the other element in this is that you could have visually some character that was some combination between Witch and Marauder with different gear or different character model or something like that, right? And then you could have the other elements switch upon skill usage. And most people would say, oh, there's a power creep issue. You have this gear of each and every character, and you also have the skill trees of each and every character, and the skills, of course, of each and every character, right? But the thing is that if you have the skill tree that's only active when you're using that skill, its effects are negated anytime you're not using the skill. So defensively, you would want to pick the character that is set up for tanking with its gear and its skill tree and its skill gems, and that would be like your baseline skill bar. And then you would want to have, let's just say, Raise Zombie, or most of the time, because the Marauder Juggernaut is more tanky, right? So in this case, these two characters that have been sacrificed to this account character, every time you'd be attacking with the defensive Marauder Juggernaut, you'd be using Bone Shatter on the skill bar. But let's say you use Raise Zombie, you would switch into the gear, skill tree, and skills of the Witch. And so for a moment there, you'd be weaker, you'd be vulnerable, and you'd have this Raise Zombie. And so now the question is wouldn't there be power creep in the sense that you have this overpowered zombie, but the overpowered defenses of the Marauder as well, making it overpowered just in the sense that both are active at the same time. And the way to balance this and to prevent power creep is have the baseline gear. So in Path of Exile 1, you know, skill gems are attached to gear. In Path of Exile 2, they're attached to attributes. Alright, so you can have the account character be geared, if you will, with specific armor and weapons without the usage of skills, because using the skills would change the gear. And in the case of like Raised Zombie, you would only be taking advantage of that skill tree when you were in the Witch Necromancy character model on the account character, right? So you would probably want to have some fusion character model between Marauder, Juggernaut, and Witch Necromancer. It would be almost like a class fusion where you would have the starting point of the Witch and the starting point of the Marauder with both character allotted skill points. So if the maximum that you have is 100 on each, you would have 200 total to spend. And you would have to choose what is active depending on what skills you're using, right? So there's a number of ways you can take this, but essentially, to avoid power creep, what you would want to do is just make it so that only one skill tree set of gear is active at a time. And in the case of something like Raised Zombie, it isn't taking advantage of the skill tree and gear if the baseline character model that's being used is not actively applying some skill of the Witch so that it would have the gear and the skill tree of the Witch, right? So you would want the Marauder, Juggernaut to be able to raise the zombie, have the zombie with them, even after they've raised the zombie, and switch back into the Marauder, Juggernaut character model. But as long as they don't use another Witch skill, like let's say they're using Bone Shatter, they wouldn't have the skill tree of the Witch. Alright, so the whole point of this is essentially you want to reward players for making more than one character and ideally you would have some account character that has every skill available with every best set of gear option to them that you've determined, as well as the skill trees associated with each and every character that you found to be worth your time. And you would just sign into this account character and your model would be some fusion of all the characters you've sacrificed to be that account character, with certain gear pieces from different places, a specific skill tree, and all the skills, right? And so, because you can only put so many skills on your skill bar, right? Like, let's say you put on, you know, Tempest Shield and War Banner. And so, when you're using the Bone Shatter, you also have access to the skill tree of the Witch, because one of the skills that you're using is Tempest Shield. So essentially, right, because you have these skills that are associated with each and every character, when you have Tempest Shield and War Banner, you'd be able to use both skill trees. It would cost the reservation for both, but you would have the mana of both. And so let me just reiterate, it seems like you would have an outrageous character. You know, because now that I've mentioned, well, how do you handle auras, right? And the answer to that is just essentially you allow them the mana, the life, the energy shield of both characters. You allow the skills to be active of both characters. So you would have Tempest Shield and you would have War Banner. But the thing is, there's only so many skills you can use at once, right? And so the power creep is limited by your skill bar. And that's the primary mechanism by which you can prevent these discrepancies in power. And then, of course, you know, the next question is, well, if I have twice the amount of life and twice the amount of mana, then isn't that some unjustifiable amount of power? And I would imagine the way that that would work is that the attributes of both characters, let's say on the Witch and the Marauder, you have those two auras active, Tempest Shield and the War Banner, then what you would want to do is have the attributes cumulative, which includes life, energy, shield, and mana. But because you're using two characters, and let's say with the Witch Necromancer you have low life, but with the Marauder Juggernaut you have high life. And so you have pain attunement on the witch and blood magic on the marauder. The thing is how you would deal with these discrepancies is that you would have, with both auras being active from both characters, you would make it so that when one of the characters dies, right? So basically, you would simultaneously have the characters alive as you're playing the game, right? So you would have additive attributes, you would have additive life, shield, mana, all that stuff, right? But while you're playing the character, if, like, let's say you're using a spell like Bone Shatter and it brings your life down to, let's say, from 5,000 to like 3,000, but you only have 2,000 life on the witch, it wouldn't kill the witch. It would only bring the life down of the marauder. Alright? So it'd be as if you're playing two characters at once, and so the pain attunement would only apply to the witch, 2,000 health, and the blood magic would only apply to the marauder, 5,000 health. But if the witch dies and your marauder is still alive, you can't use the witch skills, skill tree, or gear until you reach a checkpoint or until you drink enough life flask to revive them, or basically some event would have to happen to resurrect the character that's a part of your account character. Which, yeah, there could be like a separate skill tree for the account character dealing with revives or something. Maybe you don't have to get that intense. I haven't really thought as far as like how do you revive a dead character that's inside the account character. But maybe you just have to go back to your hideout or something and then they're alive again, right? That would make sense. And so this would give, as like a recap, let me just say, no power creep due to the skill bar limitations of what skills you can use, right? The account character fusion with your character model representing some combination of attributes, gear, skill tree, and skills, as well as the playing of that account character being representative of the Witch Necromancer and the Marauder Juggernaut together at once. If one of them dies, you would just have to bring them into your hideout or something to revive them, as long as the other one is alive. Of course, if they both die, then you're dead, right? But yeah, so I think this would be an interesting way to have some sort of ultimate end goal for the account character playing, you know, like that style of like maxing out a character for a specific thing and then feeling like you have to play that character. Why not just put it on one account character and then make that account character designable in such a way where it's not like you get infinite respec points or infinite gear choices or infinite skills, right? I would think that the way it would work is that there's only so much leeway of how you can have variance from the skill tree that you sacrificed, the gear that you sacrificed, and the skills that you sacrificed. But you get the point, and I think it's interesting, and you know, just kind of like a thought of how to do character development, account utilization. And one last thing, just kind of on a separate topic, is like, if you get an item, it'd be cool if you could like account lock it, you know, where you know, you have the gold rim, so you account lock the gold rim, and so when you make a new character, you just have the gold rim, you know, on that character. Like it's equipped, like you're using the helmet slot of this account lock thing that you have. And so you could have like, you know, even though it's on one of your other characters while you're logged into a different character, it's not like you have to transfer between the two characters. It would just be like account locked, and it would just go to that slot, you know what I'm saying? Something to think about. But yeah, that's basically all I wanted to talk about today, just some account character stuff, and hope you guys found that enjoyable. Let me know.